The following podcast is recommended for mature audiences only. The following podcast is recommended for adults only. Maturity is not a requirement.
Hello and welcome to episode 82 of Dear Download, a podcast about Download Festival, music and the industry, and all other aspects related to rock and heavy metal. This episode we have a very special guest return, an awesome interview with Rob Kellas. This episode I'm not going to say any more because I say it all at the beginning of the interview anyway. So here it is. Okay, so as you will have just heard, we are joined by Rob Kellas again this episode. We had him on around about a year ago, wasn't it? And that episode was all about you guys, how your year, how your year and music had been. But we ended up getting into like a really in-depth conversation about Download, which I wasn't expecting. And so we said that we need to get you back on. To have that more of an in-depth conversation. And I actually had to cut you off, I think, and said that we got somebody else coming on. I had to kick you off the podcast. So yes, Rob Kellas, everybody. How's it going?
Glad to be back. Thanks for having me. It's going well, thank you. Going very well.
Good. So I do have a few sort of follow-up questions after last year. I don't know if you remember, but some of them I'll be at a jogging memory.
Okay.
In fact, no, sorry. Let's start with your history of Download, when you started going. I don't think we covered that last time.
Yeah, cool. My first year at Download was 2011, and I was literally in the queue at HMV for Leeds Fest tickets.
Right.
And the lineup had leaked because they used to put it to the press, and it leaked on like Facebook, I assume, the Leeds Fest lineup, and it was shite. So we were like, we'd never considered doing anything other than Leeds. We'd done Leeds Fest twice. It's our local thing. And we'd seen the Download lineup, and I think it had Avenged on it, which is our favourite band at the time. And we were really into like rock and metal at that time. And we just kind of came up with this idea of like, well, what's stopping us going to Download instead? And we literally left the queue after queuing for hours and bought a Download ticket. And I did end up going to Leeds as well through some a bit of luck, because one of my friend's uncles worked with a band, and I went to both. And actually, looking at it now, the Leeds lineup was pretty stellar.
Yeah.
But next to that Download lineup, it didn't really compare, and so it kind of happened as like a little happy accident, really.
Yeah. Have you been to every year?
Occasionally, when you look back at some lineups you've been to, and at the time you were like, I don't remember that one being that good, and then you look back at the lineups and you're like, oh my god, this lineup is insane. What on earth was I thinking? I do that all the time.
You can kick yourself if you pay too much attention to that stuff, I find.
Yeah. Have you been to Download every year since, or have you missed a few?
Annoyingly, no. We just kind of, festivals now are like my entire life, in a good way. But it used to be something that was really rationed out. So we didn't always have the facility to go to a Download and a Leeds, and most people are like this, but I imagine, but we would base our decision heavily on the lineup, and if the lineup wasn't something we thought was stellar, then we wouldn't go. And then so we lost interest in Download for like 2013, 14, and 15. Again, if I check those lineups now, I'd probably be kicking myself. I'm pretty sure Muse did one of those years.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah, like I'd kill to see that. But those were the years where it kind of fell off for us. And then we went back in 2016 and we were like, why have we not been coming every year to this incredible event? And then we've gone every year since 2016. So we've done 10 in total, I think, if my count's correct there.
Yeah. I think, thinking back, I think around the same time, 2013 to 2015, it kind of dropped off for me a little bit. But I'd been to every one at that point, so I didn't want to break my streak. But I found, I wasn't even looking at the lineup. We started looking at the lineup a lot more now and going into it and looking at all these bands. But yeah, I knew I was always going to go. so it didn't really matter to me who was playing. But I was wondering, do you get that now with all the festivals that you go to? How closely do you look at the lineups and the bands that are playing? So I know I was going off and down a little bit, but
No,
it was one of the questions I was going to ask anyway.
We're a big champion of like the lineup is one of the least important things about a festival. It might sound wild to some people. When we've got a short list of like 6 festivals on one weekend in Europe, that's when we'll start to look at like what lineup is going to be best.
Right.
But in terms of like, people saying, especially with something like Download, but like the lineup is such a small part of that package for me. Like, you've got the community is brilliant. The nightlife is probably the best in the UK for a festival. The lineup, if you're into that kind of music, it's going to have something for you, even if you don't like necessarily the headliners or this, that, or the other. There's loads of extracurricular stuff at Download. So I would challenge people, and I mean, I know that not everyone has the luxury, but I would challenge people who do go to maybe 1, 2, 3 festivals a year to put the lineup kind of on the back burner. And in the same way, there's festivals where it could have an incredible lineup, but if there's nothing else going on, there's not really too much of an attraction for me. I think about When We Were Young festival in Vegas.
Yeah,
it always has a really good lineup, but there's so little else to do. And you could argue like, well, you won't need anything else to do if the lineup's stacked from start to finish. But it is nice to just have a little bit of a break from watching some bands and expelling all that energy that takes if you're singing and jumping around. So I think
that's why Glastonbury is so appealing to people, because it has so much around it, and also the bands. I know Download has tried to sort of adapt that. I've got that with Trees this year. I love 2000 Trees so much. I don't like the lineup, but I'm going to go anyway because I absolutely love that festival.
Yeah, I mean, we went to 3 or maybe even 4 consecutive 2000 Trees, and look, I love Trees. I love the members of the Trees team that I've met and spoken to. They're fantastic, but the lineup's never really been for me. There's been a few select good bands, but it's not tailored to me at all. Yeah. But we've still gone that many times because it's such a good event. It really is that good, and if you can look past the lineup and enjoy relaxing at your tent, or being surrounded by a really like-minded community, or some class food, particularly at Trees and Download, though not so much this year for Download, but there's so much more to enjoy. But I do appreciate that, for people who might just do one festival a year, you do really, the lineup's going to play more of a, I acknowledge that going to a fair few, the lineup's not, it's easy for me to say that, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another thing I was going to touch on. I think you said you went to about 17 or 18 festivals in 2022. You said you couldn't remember if it was either 26 or 27 in 2023, and you were hoping to double that this year. Oh, are you finished this year even?
We're not finished.
No,
we're not finished. I don't know where I was getting double it from, because there's no way I was going to double it. But what do we do? So it's going to get a bit boring now as I just calculate. We probably have done maybe one or two more.
Okay.
So what have we done here? We've got one.
Maybe I heard wrong.
No, I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure I was just chatting shit. So we'll end on 26 this year, which I think is about the same, is it not? Is that what?
Yeah, you said 26 or 27.
Sorry for a really boring section there where I'm just counting.
It's all editable.
We didn't really do. Last year we did a few double weekends where we do like half of one festival, half of the other.
Yeah.
And we didn't. Well, we tried not to do that this year. There was one weekend where we did end up doing that, but it was spontaneous, so it felt kind of more of an adventure. So yeah, we didn't double up on any weekends except that one. But then we started like way earlier, and we're finishing way later with like snow festivals, winter festivals, and then we've got, America still has a few festivals running around the next few months. And then we're off to this weekend we're off to a festival called Damnation. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
It's in Manchester, like super heavy metal festival.
Is it Cradle of Filth headlining?
Yeah, doing like a performance strictly off their first 5 records. So that should be really interesting, and I'm looking forward to stepping a little bit out of my comfort zone with that one.
Are you one of these people from the north that doesn't like Manchester? Because I went to Manchester for a stag do 2 weeks ago, and everyone in the Discord community was like, "Better get your jabs." Because Manchester. I thought it's the first time I'd been. I really enjoyed it, but obviously I just went out for the night. I didn't actually hang around. So
I love Manny. I did live there for a couple of years at uni many moons ago, but we've recently I've always sung Manchester's praises very, very high, but after going there for like gigs, trying to go out afterwards, going there for like the odd Outbreak Festival or so, what we have realised is actually not that good. Everything's really spread apart. Like we're from Leeds, and it's super easy here to just like jet about on foot, no problem. Manchester's just like proper spread out, and there's a lot more kind of pseudo fancy bars that instead of like a bit more gritty real bars. And I think the rock nightlife in Manchester is pretty boring as well, if I do say so myself. I'm sure someone will argue with that, but I'm kind of falling out of love with it.
We ended up in Satan's Hollow.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was good for your first time, but
it was all right. Yeah, like I've been to better clubs, but it was still I enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? It was your standard dingy.
Yeah. When I was at uni, I would beg the guys I lived with, can we go to Satan's Hollow? But it was no, we're going to this indie night or like this pop night. We literally never went to Satan's Hollow in the 2 years I spent at uni. But then since then, I've been like maybe 20 times over the last 10 years, and it's cash only in. They don't have a very good queuing system at all. It's as soon as it gets slightly busy in there, you're looking like 15 minutes queue for a drink. And it's just, I don't want to hate on Saints Hollow too much, but because I guess it is an important staple of the culture in Manny, but I just see a place that has some glaring omissions that could just with a few tweaks could be made so good. And they just don't seem to want to do that, because obviously they're making their money anyway. But
and finally, I think one of the other things we spoke about was your download lockdown video. Simon seemed to remember almost everything about it, more than you did. I had seen it at that point, so I went away and watched it. But I think it sounded like you don't actually go back and watch any of your stuff. You said that was one of the only videos that you would go back and watch.
We spoke about that video this week. Whenever we're doing something creative in the flat that requires a bit of, thinking, or like, it's not just out on site doing something. Whenever me and Dan, who I live with, tinkering with something, which we've been doing this week, we reminisce about how fun it was just making that video. You're presented with a problem you need to make. And that video is pretty dated in terms of like the editing effects on it and stuff. I could probably do a little bit better now, but just the idea of like, we need to make it look like we're at a festival, solve that problem, and then you've just got your own kind of knowledge and your tools in front of you to make that happen. It's so much fun, so much fun. One of my favorite videos ever, and if you asked Dan, he'd probably say, I'd wager that it's probably his favorite video that we've ever done.
Yeah, it is really, really good. Just because you had to think outside the box. You had to think outside the box for all this creativity, and some of the shots are just.
It's so stupid, man. It's so dumb. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like adding camera shake to like static tripod shots to make it look more like what someone's holding. Oh, it was so. It was it was a real labour of love. Yeah, it was great, man. It was as in like to do it. It was really good fun, and the audience loved it at the time. We had quite a smaller audience than we do now, that's for sure. But we got like so much love on that. We did like a live premiere. They loved it, and we were chatting with them, and it was class. Very fond memories of that. One of the few positives to come out of that time.
Oh, definitely.
Before we move on to the main things we actually wanted to talk to you about today, I actually met you at Download this year, very briefly.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. But it was only about 10 seconds, and then somebody else came over and was like, oh, I love your stuff. So does it feel a bit like speed dating when you're at festivals? Because you're constantly getting people come to you.
It can do sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
In a positive way, but sometimes there are times where it'd be nice if me and you could have got a bit extra time, and you got to toe that line because we don't want to come across as like rude or uninterested in someone, or because people do take that and run with it as an agenda. I've since learned that this year. So in the moment where that kind of happens, you kind of I don't really know what to do. And I just kind of, thankfully we'd already broken the ice by doing this before, so hopefully we've already got that relationship.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I thought in that moment, like, he knows that we're cool. I'm gonna have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Because people do just come up and just start speaking at you.
Yeah.
Like, it don't matter what. Not everyone, but like, it doesn't matter what you're engaged with, what you're doing. And God forbid you're not ready for it, because they'll let you know online after the fact. Believe me.
Yeah. Do you know what? I obviously Simon does his YouTube. I don't have my face really anywhere, but I notice people stop Simon every probably 10 to 15 minutes when we're at download, and it made me realize just how, maybe not annoying, but if you were to be like a famous actor or something, just how often you would get stopped. It would literally be exactly like I said a minute ago with you. It would be constantly as you're going down the street.
Yeah, it's if you were an A-lister, how do you live your life?
Yeah.
That's true. How can you go anywhere? Like, that's why they are just so that you don't see them out and about, because if they go to the supermarket, they're just going to get mobbed.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, mentioned Simon there getting recognised, and we get recognised at download. So we kind of exist in that niche little area, and it's amazing. It's a great taste of that life and that experience. It's so validating. It's 99% of the time so positive, and for both parties. But if you think about, like, translate that to every second of your life.
Yeah.
And then like, another thing to think about, like, actual famous people, is people like know where they're at. They know what they're doing. They'll know, like, when they're booked in a studio, if they're a musician. They'll know when they're doing this, that, and the other. So they've got that intel and that community that's talking about that. So you literally, it must be one of the hardest things of that life, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
But thankfully, I'll never have to worry about that. But we have had some strange brushes before with, like, people figuring out where we live and waiting outside and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's done with. I try and apply benefit of the doubt to most things, because a lot of the time I'm not given a benefit of the doubt, and I think, where's the benefit of the doubt? So I try and apply that to most things, and I'm sure these folks in question didn't mean any harm, and ultimately didn't cause any harm, but it's just that kind of behaviour pattern that could lead to something a bit
insane, actually.
It's
pretty mental.
Yeah, it was very strange.
Also, another quick thing while we're on this subject, actually, I did send a question to Stu for you. He probably forgot it or something, but it was.
Not read it.
No, he didn't.
What an absolute get.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Never liked him. I've never liked him.
That's going to be my ringtone from now on. Especially when I'm on Stu. Simon, I lost my phone. Can you ring it? But yeah, no, I was wondering, because it's probably easy to do. Obviously, you probably would never assume people recognize you from YouTube. But have you ever sort of met someone and they say or do something, and so you assume that they know you from YouTube, and it turns out they don't, and they have no idea who you are, and it just is that sort of embarrassing kind of moment?
That's happened a few times. What I do, I'm really self-conscious about, like, overestimating who I like. I don't want to, like, I try and just view what we do as really, really small.
Yeah.
So unless someone directly says to me, like, I like your channel, I will treat every single interaction I have, whether it's like in the train station or wherever, just as, like, we're just two people. You've just for some reason decided to have a chat to me, and I deliberately never think, like, because otherwise I think, it just stops any kind of, like, I'm probably overthinking it, but just stops any kind of, like, ego of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
then am I going to start thinking that people, but there have been times where like years ago when like we'd get, people come over less, and like you'd see some people come over. I remember there was a time it was a 2000 trees, at the first 2000 trees. I get dissed a lot for this internally in our group. And these two girls were like walking over to our camp, and you could see them coming over. Like they were clearly like on a trajectory, like to walk onto our camp. And they look pretty nice. And that's not that that's what we're there for. But I nudged someone else. I was like, "Here we go, boys." And they came over, and they're like, "Hiya," and I was like, "Hi, how you doing?" And they're just like, "Have you got a lighter?" And I was just like, "No, I don't smoke. Sorry." And that's one that I kind of get clowned on for quite a lot.
Yeah,
That's
fair
good.
enough.
That's good stuff.
Right, so let's so yeah, one of the main things we wanted to sort of talk to you about. So we are almost fully focused on Download Festival. We're constantly looking at the lineup, constantly talking about the weather, everything around it. And so I was just more curious of like how Download compares to other big festivals. Not necessarily. We've already got a few big festivals here, but like big festivals over in like mainland Europe or America. So yeah, like I said, we're always hyped about the lineup as well. People are talking online for weeks, months about what the lineup's going to be like. And I was wondering, do you follow any other festivals as much when you know you're going to go to them? Do you sort of join social media pages or something?
Yeah, we do.
And everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we do that with every one of them. Even the ones that we're just shortlisting. Like Facebook community groups are really good.
Yeah.
I don't really use Reddit very often, but I'll go in the subreddits and I'll post like a first timer, what do we need to know? Just basically collate as much info as possible.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Facebook's a great place for that. I use Facebook like a Reddit,
Right.
and it's just got all these subreddits on it as like community groups, and I think that's a good modern way to use Facebook actually, as it's kind of getting a bit outdated for general social media usage, because people just have stopped using it. But it's great to use as like a Reddit substitute, I find. And yeah, my entire Facebook feed is like, there'll be like the odd friend on there, but it's like Ziggett Festival top tips, or like Download 2025, Slam Dunk 2025, like all this stuff. I think it's really important to just get the big picture. Like we need to know as much as we can going in.
Yeah.
Because of like coverage wise, we need to know what we need to see, what we can't miss, what we need to pre-book, things like that.
Yeah. And what sort of but as well as entertainment, we spoke about Glastonbury earlier, where you can never do all of it in one weekend. And
Yeah.
like you said, Simon, Download's trying to go that way a little bit. I'm starting to feel like Download might have a little bit too much going on, but they'll probably keep putting more in. But yeah, how do you think Download compares to a lot of the other big festivals with entertainment wise in the evenings?
I think there's definitely the most going on. I think, aside from like a Glasgow, that exists in a different conversation. But in terms of like major corporate festivals, Download does just have the most done. It's got the wrestling, it's got the cinema, had the bloody chili eating contest on this year, which I missed, but I'd like to have seen that. It's got a pretty stacked lineup almost every year. There is loads to do. It's got podcasts on. It's got like unplugged sets, acoustic sets in the middle of the night during the nightlife. It really does have a lot on. But I don't know if with something like a Glasgow, you go like people say like go 3 or 4 times to see it all. I think like I wouldn't necessarily apply that to Download, because the cinema tent that runs films for like 4 or 5 hours, you're never going to prioritize that over anything else unless you're the kind of person that really likes that, and then you're going to see that the first time. No one's going like the third time because I didn't get to try out the cinema tent. But there is a lot going on. There is a lot, but I think that's good. I think it's better to be like that. Like Leeds Fest this year, for example, they tried adding more stuff. There was like a load of more podcasts added on. There was like a new take on the silent disco, and while it didn't work because I think the stage got destroyed by the wind, I was really looking forward to seeing how that went, because I think the more the merrier for the most part in terms of features.
It's killed the campsites at Download. From someone who, two guys who've been going to Download for a long time, the campsites used to be like where all the mental shit happened, and because it's evolved where you're out away from your tents in most evenings, it's that the campsites don't have the same sort of crazy vibe that they used to. But I do like that they put on so much stuff that you can just go out and, you know, it's like going out for the night, even though you're already at a festival.
Yeah, you are right. The campsites are it's just your accommodation now, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
There's the only time in the whole year where we kind of really have like that campsite, what it used to be like craziness, is the Wednesday at Leeds Fest. Like, and that's out of the whole year of all the festivals. Just because there's stuff to do on every other day of every other festival. Like the Wednesday at Leeds is the only day I can think of where there's literally no going on. And I guess that is a shame, because sometimes they're the best memories. I had a great time the Wednesday at Leeds Fest. It's because we didn't have to do it. Just sat and got hammered and had a dance at camp.
A few times, haven't you, Ad, that you kind of miss that sitting at the campsite with everyone just getting absolutely battered and doing stupid shit with each other.
Yeah, the campsite was where the party was for years and years and years, but it's boring at the campsites now usually.
I wonder if, obviously, like everything's getting more expensive and download tickets are really expensive. I think they're good. I think you get the value out of them, but it's a lot of money to spend.
Yeah.
And I wonder if with the rising costs of like tours and booking artists, and just everything, if that's why they put so much more on, so that like, because you know, a lot of people would still go 350 quid a ticket if there was nothing on but the bands. But like, I wonder if they feel an obligation to really make it feel like you're getting a significant value for money. I would be surprised if that wasn't part of the conversation.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually.
That's a good point.
You're paying more, so give the people more stuff.
Yeah.
To do way. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I think we've sort of had this conversation before where like the Doghouse doesn't make them any extra money. So they're putting money that could be profit back in to make sure people have like a better time.
It could only cost them money, the Doghouse, can't it? Because there's no additional revenue to be earned. You don't pay in. They have to pay the DJs, and you know, some of them won't be super cheap. And you just bring in your booze from camp that you've already brought.
Yeah.
You know, they could make the decision to put that in the arena past the gate post where you can't bring booze, and hopefully they don't listen to this.
Hopefully
and you know, but you know, they could do that, and then you're paying £6, £7 a pint every time you need a drink, and they don't. So you know, I think they are a passionate organizer. I think they really do a great job, and they try and do right by the community. I think there's some fests where it don't matter; it's just a cash grab. You know, we went to Power Trip last year, about this time last year, and it was just it was just a relentless give me all your money festival, and we're going to give you the bare minimum back, and so it's nice to see the total opposite of that, really.
Yeah,
because they do, like, I mean, in the Doghouse they have like fire breathing and shit, and like radio personalities DJing, and you know, many of these people that I've met personally, and they're really nice and they do a great job. But you know, Download could just stick on a playlist, you know, and
true,
and it wouldn't be anywhere near as good, but people would still go. They do go above and beyond, and respect to them for it. You know, I would remember in the Doghouse last year, a guy called John Mahon, who is a radio DJ, was doing like a killer set. It was like watching a live performance. He was like jumping all over, was doing some like really wild mixes. And and it just like stuff like that just differentiates it, just adds
Yeah.
to the allure of the whole image of Download.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what you said about, it can only cost them money, or they could put it in the arena. Back in 2022, I think it was, when they had it was outside, there was no roof on it. A friend of ours was there, and he was like, "All right, who wants a drink?" And he went over to the bar and got, I think it was 5 drinks, cost him about 35 quid. He could have gone down to the co-op to get 2 crates for that. And I think I'm pretty sure this year that bar was barely open. I never saw anybody at that bar. So yeah, it's not
only going to be a convenience thing, isn't it? Rather than if you didn't bring beers with you, you might just go, "Oh, we'll just go and get a drink." But, but we're skimping, so we always just load up with loads. Not paying that, mate. I'm going to bring my own.
Yeah,
you do right.
Yeah. What about organisation as well? I mean, I'm sure you've heard all the people complaining about how badly organised it is, but that's sort of, again, it's all very narrow-minded. Not necessarily all the time, but people don't look at other festivals. I'm sure there's other festivals that are way worse in organisation, and other festivals that could be better. But how do you feel it scales organisation-wise compared to some of the other bigger festivals?
I've never personally. I mean, look, let's clear things up. Like, obviously, we've got a working relationship with Download Festival, but we don't. We're not like super tight with them. So there's no saving face here when I say this. Though we do get on with them, but I've honestly never had any kind of issues with Download's organisation. I mean, where we park, it's the single furthest away place where you can park, because at the box office where we get our passes from. So we have the longest walk to general camping, and no issues at all any time that we do it. It was really muddy this year. And yeah, that was, maybe there could have been some more wood chip put down. We saw at a festival festival called Grass Pop, which I think was in Belgium, that was like the week after or the week before Download. It was just like incredibly muddy, and then like the day later there was no mud because they'd really killed it with like the sawdust and stuff. I guess Download could have done a better job with that, but in terms of the general organisation, I think it's spot on. I don't really have a bad thing to say about it. The mud personally added to my experience. I'm fortunate enough to I don't have any accessibility needs. I'm not here to say it's perfect, because I'm just one person in my shoes. But from my experience, I've not had any issues. We did praise Download for its accessibility based on like some testimonials that we'd got over the last few years. And then it was since mentioned to us that it's actually not as good as we've been saying. So we've kind of just stopped talking about that altogether, because we don't have we just don't, we want to be authentic about it, and we can only go off what we've been told. And if some people are telling us, we meet people in a wheelchair quite often, and we say, "What's it like?" And they'll generally say, "Oh, no problem, it's fine." But then online we'll get a lot of, "Well, actually, it's not been fine. This, that, and the other. It's actually had its like accreditation star removed for not being as accessible as it should." So we just don't know enough about that. We're waiting for one of us to break our leg, and then we can go. Someone commented on one of our posts, like, "Guys, you need to go with one of you in a wheelchair to show like what," and it got like 30 comments saying, "Great idea. That's a terrible idea." We would get absolutely dragged through the mud for the right reasons if we were just appropriate in that. So I think, if one of us snaps a leg and legitimately needs...
You'd have to film you breaking someone's leg.
Well, do you know what, mate? Look, I'm a dedicated man, right? And I live to create. And I literally thought in a jokey way, like, how much would it really hurt if I just broke my leg on purpose? But there is a time where everyone in our crew is in good health, but there is a potential that for a brief amount of time, one of the crew might need a wheelchair for a brief amount of time in the next coming years. And it's all good. Like it's routine stuff. But maybe we'll truly be able to do that then. But yeah, I kind of went strictly onto that accessibility there. But I guess that's the only side of organisation on site that I don't really have any first-hand experience with. Everything else, I think it's fine personally.
Yeah. My mind has gone blank of all the things that people complained about in the last couple of years anyway. So I'm not going to carry on any more about that.
Nitpicking anyway. It's normally loads of small things rather than one big thing. But I think everyone always does say that downloads, when it rains, download falls apart a little bit, which they should have learned by now. As
yeah, I do get that. Like it was insane, the mud this year. Like it really was, and I was loving it because I was like, it's a novelty for me, and I never get to experience this kind of mud anywhere. But by the last day, and every step's taking like 3 times as much strength, I was firmly on my ass, probably literally and figuratively. But yeah, seeing how well Grasspop dealt with it, I do wonder if Download could have done a lot better, because it was the extremes at Grasspop were more extreme at either end. The mud was way worse, if you can imagine, and it was way more waterlogged, like because the ground there, the soil was different.
Right.
But then overnight, it was just straight back to just standard like mud that doesn't compact when you walk on it. They did a great job. So
yeah.
I'd look into that then, Download organisers.
Yeah, well, maybe it's something they're used to, so they're way more prepared for it. In the same way, we're not prepared for snow because we don't get it. We don't.
I'm surprised they didn't have something on the back burner because they did put some wood chip down, and I don't know if wood chip's the right thing or sawdust or whatever. But I'm surprised that just as a contingency, they don't just have like 5 times more than they think they need. And worst case scenario, just store it somewhere for the year. Yeah, I mean it's the natural it's a natural material, isn't it? Use it for
on the way out and give everyone a pack of it.
Use it for like padding when they're shipping like merch out from the web store. Use it for that.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And the last thing on this is lineup. So we had some questionable headliners. I'm sure a lot of people would have looked at a lot of other festivals at the headliners, but generally not just this year. It was this year, wasn't it? Yeah, generally not just this year. How do you think Download compares lineup-wise to
the one we've just had?
Generally, not just this year, but generally. Or you can touch on what you thought about this year's headliners as well if you want.
Can't even remember who it was.
Queens of the Stone Age, Fall Out Boy, and
Avenged.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Do you know what, the headliners, I loved the Fall Out Boy set. It really surprised me. Smashed it. I thought it was really entertaining. I'm a Fall Out Boy fan. I'm not like a mega fan, but I thought it was great concept. It was like an Eras tour type thing where they go through each album in consecutive order. I think they really did a good job. Queens of the Stone Age, not for me at all. I really just can't get behind them. But it's a new Download headliner in it, and I can't be like moaning about Iron Maiden. Oh, they're doing it again, and then moaning when they give Queens of the Stone Age a chance. I looked at the crowd. The crowd wasn't super big, but it was pretty big. They seemed to be enjoying it. Avenged were great. Where Download really wins is the undercard, because they have. Yeah. And we've been paying close attention to this recently, because we're doing our festival awards at the minute, or like shortlisting the winners for that. And I remember thinking in the moment, like, God, this is a great day at Download. Like for a typical Download enjoyer, it was like an amazing day. I can't remember the exact run, but it was something like, I want to say like maybe, I might get this wrong, but it was something like Bowling for Soup. Another like big something like for Bowling for Soup, Sum 41, Offspring, Limp Bizkit. Maybe I'm getting the days wrong, but it was like bona fide, tried and tested, like big names in that space, and they were just all kind of there. And maybe that might have not been the run on one day, but but it was a really strong run, and then like getting busted in the tent.
Yeah.
What a great move for those people who want a bit of, because busted are kind of be controversial, but what a great move, like getting them in, and I heard it was their request to be in that tent. So then that kind of everyone kind of wins then, because the elitists are not like, why are they taking like a good, because the biggest selling arena band of the year, or at least they were at the time, were busted. So to get them in that tent to me looked a bit wild. They should have been at least headlining the second stage, but by their request to do that tent, at least that's what I was told, it just kind of fixes a problem before it even starts of like people moaning. And I think the lineup's class. It's really, and the strength is all in like the three bands under the main headliner each day. That's where the real core strength of the festival is. Some of those bands you could kind of swap out with Queens of the Stone Age and it'd make sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was really impressed to see the lineup this year.
I think you're right. Downloads undercards, no matter what year, is normally pretty strong. You're pretty much right with that. We looked at this year, for instance, and we thought headliners, okay, that's pretty good, but the undercard was absolutely solid.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you know what? If you're not into your your Offspring or whatever it was, go watch Pantera for the first time in this country for 20 years, and their crowd was insane, and it's just satisfying all the niches that exist in like the heavy community. Black Dahlia Murder back for the first time, and I really loved Black Dahlia Murder, and I was gutted that I missed them for Avenged. I got to catch them a few weeks later, and they're outstanding. But it was their first time at Download in maybe a long time. I can't remember exactly how long, but a great booking, like some extreme metal headline in a tent, like class. The bookers they do a great job. They're the best in the business, really. Like they really are.
Yeah.
It's a good diverse festival. Like I said before in my last video, it's a great festival because you can see Cannibal Corpse 1 minute, and then you can see Joey Valance and Brave the next, and you're like, that's two wildly different bands playing the same festival, yet it doesn't really seem out of place because Download just books wherever the alternative community is into currently.
And they get it. Like I don't know all the bookers. I know a couple of them, and they just live and breathe it. They're at shows every night. Yeah. What's gonna do well, and it's a somewhat diverse team that does it as well, and I just think it reflects so well in the end product. They really do an amazing job, and they're the best in the business when it comes to lineup for sure.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. I know you said it a bit earlier, but yeah. So we've interviewed a couple of the bookers, and we've met them a few times since, and it's been really fun, really cool. Seeing them every time, they actually seem quite happy to see us. Do you get to know any other of the organisers as well? Are you, because I think you...
Yeah, I mean, we've got to know a fair few people behind the scenes in many different roles. I'd be lying if I said, I was best mates with any of them, but certainly got a good relationship and could call myself friends with some of them. Sometimes it's been just through meeting and being introduced by someone else. Sometimes it's through knowing a band who's come up the ranks, and you might be hanging out with that band and they'll see the person that put them on. Sometimes, I'm just, it really is. It's just kind of a network that's kind of built over years, to be fair. Yeah. We get on, I like to think we get on pretty well with Festival Republic, who don't have anything to do with Download now, I believe, but they did work with Download really closely for a number of years, and they run Leeds Fest. So the Leeds Fest crew, there's a lot of crossover. There was crossover with some of the Download people, so some of it came from there. Also, a lot of these people are just fascinating and fascinate me. I love the peek behind the curtain of what goes on. The less glamorous, the more interesting it is to me. Of I have one of my best mates that I've been lucky enough to meet in the last few years. Works as a ticketing manager. So basically, his job is to figure out what shows to put on, what shows going to sell tickets, how many nights he should put on, and it can sound like really, really boring, but to me that's like the most fascinating thing. Like, it's not about like who do you get to meet, or who do you like, what access level do you get. It's more like, how does this work? This beast that I'm a part of as a on the front end, as a punter. What's that like? How does that work for you when you're doing it on the back end? Like, and it's just fascinating. So through natural fascination and interest in that industry, I just communicate with people and speak to people, and I'm interested about it. I would love. I'm certainly not qualified, but like, I would love a job doing something like that. I'm sure many people would. But like, I was saying this to my friend in question who works in ticketing. I was like, I would like do this right now. I'm not saying I could, because you'll need some kind of qualifications. But like, even though I work for myself at the minute and I love it, I would love to just step into that world and see what it's like. I think it's just fascinating.
Yeah, you'd be a part of it. You'd be a cog in the machine then.
Yeah.
How everything works, because you'd be connected to everyone. That would be great.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can. It can be kind of dangerous, because apparently you can become kind of jaded. I've heard that from a few different sources.
Yeah.
But it does just fascinate me. It really does. I'm a real nerd for live music, so I've seen what live music looks like as a ticket buyer, and going in through the front and watching the band in the standing area a million times. I love to know, like, where do you decide where to park the truck? How do you decide when to release the production hold tickets? How do you determine like who is eligible for like this level of ticket? Blah blah blah. It just fascinates me.
I like that.
I'm the same. I just love knowing how things work, even if it's something I've never heard of before, and I sort of get a little taste of it, and I'm like, oh, I want to know more now. And I think when you were on Stu's podcast, you went a bit more into TPD TV and how it works a little bit, and I had so many questions while I was listening to it. I didn't write them down. I'm not going to ask them here, because some of them might have been a little bit too much, asking too much information. Not because I wanted to, encroach or anything, but because I was just like really curious. Yeah, it was really interesting. But also, I was. Similar question to what I just said with any other festivals that you go to over on the planet, I guess. Do you ever get from any of them? So you apply for media or something, and then it might get back to you and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're asking to come to us. We're happy to have you. Here, have this." Do you get that anywhere else?
Yeah, we've had it a few times. Smaller festivals get really worried, and I've heard this firsthand. They get really anxious. Not all of them, obviously, but just I've heard of it from a couple. From like, after the fact, after the deed is done, because for a small festival, a good bit of coverage on a platform our size can translate into a lot of ticket sales, but same in reverse as well.
Yeah.
So whenever we do kind of approach an event, and it might be a smaller one, or something where you can kind of tell, okay, they're trying. I don't want to seem rude or ungrateful, but they're maybe trying a bit too hard to make us like super comfortable. We'll generally try to not take advantage of too much goodwill that they've offered us, while also being fair in a sense of like, we can't hold this small event accountable to the same level that we would hold like a major event. And I think we've learned to walk that line pretty well. Sometimes there's the total opposite, where festivals don't want us anywhere near them, and they're the ones that we really kind of want to go for, because there's obviously a reason as to why.
Yeah.
And we've since done that and had a great time at some festivals, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, we get offered. We always try and decline as much as we can. When we went to one of the festivals in Germany this year, we kept getting asked like, "Come and watch this from the side of the stage." Like, Do you want to come and just have all this experience that you just can't buy? And every bone in my body is going, yes, I do. That would be amazing. Oh my God, that would be so cool. But you've just got to be like, sorry, no, we're going to stand here in the rain and watch it. Watch the band with, with the audience, because that's the way to do it. And that's, we can't review. And I'm surprised more people don't do that. We do see a lot of like gifted influencer stuff where it's just simply not an experience that like anyone else could have. And they're saying, oh, it's so good. And like, yeah, of course it's good, because it's been strictly designed for someone in your position, and exclusively for someone in your position to enjoy. And it don't count. There are times where like something like, so let's take Ziggett Festival, for example. Amazing agency that sorted us out for Ziggett called Full Fat. And there was the option for a glamping tent. So like we look at it and we're like, right, we could fly over with our tents. We could buy tents out there. But realistically, you can pay for glamping anyway. It's an extra cost, but like a punter can pay for that. And that's the rule we try and apply. Like if it's something that a punter can get themselves, then we'll entertain the idea of it. We got offered RIP for download this year, which is something we've wanted to do for a while, but it just wasn't right for like what we wanted to do this year. We wanted to. The split wouldn't have been right, because it would have just broken up the group in a way that just didn't work for the video, because some people were going.
We turned down RIP, didn't we?
Yeah.
Hey, they can't give it away.
It breaks up the whole group. Like we were like, we walked in there and we were like, this is fantastic, but all of my mates are in the other field. I don't want to just stay in here because.
Yeah. For us, it was like, well, I'd love to be in RIP and show our audience what RIP is, but like. It was one where I think you get like 3 people in a thing. I can't remember if it was like a tent or like a hut or whatever it was. Yeah. So the split for us would be, well, like two of the lads are going with their missus, so they're obviously going to be in a thing just with their missus, which means that like it encourages like dawdling and comfort and relaxing, whereas like then like me and 2 of the guys are being like the other one, and we get up and we'd be like, right, come on, let's go and cover stuff. And there was the fear that like, Raz and his wonderful Mrs. Rachel, who get on with really well, she's great, but they might be watching like Love Actually or something on their phone, like cuddled up in bed, and we didn't want to be stuck in that kind of situation, so we're like, all go in general. I would like to do RIP. Have you seen the tour bus that they do?
Yeah,
have you ever seen that?
Very expensive as well.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 grand, isn't it? If not more.
Yeah.
We'd love to do that. I mean, that's never going to be on the cards, because the thing is, if they can sell it, they certainly won't be giving it out for free. But that would be a great experience. Maybe we'll try and save the money and pay for that one next year.
Yeah. While we're talking about this, actually, I think we did briefly talk about it at Download. But yeah, so we performed on the stage in RIP, and I actually put your name forwards, and you said you turned it down. That's not the sort of thing you're interested in doing. I don't know whether they asked you after I put your name forwards or whether they were going to ask you anyway. I don't want to take credit for that. But yeah.
Well, let's give you the credit for it anyway. We'll never know. So let's just say it was you, and you can have the credit.
There you go.
We're just, again, it's just more stuff to take us away from authentically covering the event, and another reason for us to be biased, unconsciously biased. We would kind of like to do something at Download, ideally like not in the RIP section. I think there was probably a gross misunderstanding of what we actually do. I don't think anything we do would land particularly well in RIP. If it was a podcast, we hate the idea of a live, or I hate the idea of a live podcast, which is why we've only ever done one. A few festivals wanted us to do them this year, and some of the guys were up for it, but I was like, we can't do it. Like, it's not us. It's not what we do. Like, go on stage, we'll trip over our words. We will say the wrong thing. We can't edit it. We can't edit a real world podcast. Um, I would like to do something in like the doghouse, like with the guys, like maybe a DJ. Well, it would have to be like a DJ set, really. But the thing is, like, they get real DJs in. They get like proper DJs like John Mahon and like there's a duo, Hang the DJs, really really good DJs. They get Zoe London in. Proper like professional jockeys of the disc.
I don't know though. I still feel like there would be space on there for you guys at some point if you were to say we want to do a DJ set. I still think they would be able to squeeze you in.
We'd be up for the convo, but and never say never. But we turned all DJ sets down this year. I think, I don't think we did a single one. And we did we do DJ set? I can't remember. The listeners might correct me if they've any idea. But yeah, we just wanted to step away from doing that. Really, we peaked so high at Piccadilly over the last 5 Piccadillys that we did, and it's always great fun doing one wherever it is. But we don't want to just keep doing the exact same thing. And the problem is, like, Two Door Cinema Club's music is just as good now as it was 5 years ago. So it's just the same song we're going to play, and so we need a little bit of time between it to figure out like if there's anything more we could do with the idea that's a bit more. We're always trying to innovate, and we probably shouldn't, because whenever we try something new, people generally don't gravitate towards it. They want to see the same stuff. They want to see us going to download again. They want to see us eating the same food. But from a creative standpoint, it's not super fulfilling.
No,
so that we're trying to challenge ourselves while still giving the core audience what they want.
You want to leave yourself somewhere to go as well, don't you? Like, you don't want to do everything and then that's it. Then you've hit the ceiling. There's nowhere else you can.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got to kind of stay true to the norm throughout the festival season, at least. We just put a video out on Sunday of a road trip across America. It's a video I really like, and people, like, from what I see, people have been asking for a road trip video like all year. Like, people saying on like, "Oh, festivals are getting old. When are you going to start doing more?" So effectively, I delivered what I thought is exactly what the audience wants, and it's like the lowest performing video we've done all year. And that's fine, because we're in the off season now, so we're more than happy to throw those people who have been vocal, like, here's what you asked for, and it doesn't really matter if it doesn't do like big numbers. It really doesn't, which is a really freeing and nice feeling. But when it comes to risking it in the festival season, we need to just be doing.
Yeah.
So then the conversation is, what different festivals can we do? We try and not do too many repeats, and we had a good year for that this year. But there was some still in there.
I bet you haven't been to a festival that has the Wurzels headlining.
You're right, mate.
I'm from down south. Every festival that is of a certain sort of size, they've all got the Wurzels headlining. And every time I see a poster, I think, I wonder if you'd come to that.
So there's no exclusivity then for the Wurzels. They're not bounded by an exclusivity clause in the contract.
So. I don't think so. Trying to get as many in as possible before they're gone.
Well, if I was the Wurzels, I would be doing the very same.
Going back to DJ sets a minute ago, I was saying a while ago, wasn't I, Simon? I wanted to get us sort of a DJ set at download, and until I realised you actually have to DJ and not just put songs on, and I can't do that. So I think we'd be more suited to, me personally, I'd be more suited to the silent disco, and me and Simon just have a channel each and sort of battle each other.
I'd be really surprised if you don't get that sooner rather than later, you guys, because it just makes a lot of sense. I think people would show up, people would support you. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Maybe even have like you two on a channel against like another similar
against TPD
creator. Maybe, yeah, maybe. We don't want to become enemies now.
Don't watch our live show of the podcast at download then. No, I literally just remembered. I didn't have this written down. I just remember we were talking about bringing the football pitch back. And we were saying, do you remember the five-a-side football pitch that was in the village?
Oh, very vaguely.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and we were saying we want to sponsor it and have our own team, and take you guys on and take all the other
That
content
would be
creators
class.
on.
That would be great.
Fans Love Football.
Oh, that would
Get
be.
all the podcasters, get loads of fan ones, and just have a massive football tournament.
That would be my worst nightmare, but it'd be very funny.
You wouldn't have to play. You just get a team together. Because I wouldn't get a
Yeah.
play. I'd be injured.
No worries.
within a
Well,
couple
I'll
of
try.
minutes.
We'll throw as much money as we can at a League Two team and see if they'll come and represent us.
Excellent. I completely forgot about that. I'm glad I remembered it though while we're here.
We've still got to speak to Jenny and Danica about that and see if that's something they actually want to do.
Yes, they seem to be up for getting anything.
Yeah,
like I said, this is growing it, so they'll bring it back, I'm sure. Yeah. Right, we're actually running out of time, and we haven't spoken anything about the upcoming year. So yeah, we kind of deliberately, but not so much deliberately. It doesn't make any sense. You're on before the lineup's been announced. You know, we could have waited until after to find out what you think about it. But yeah, so we're currently recording about 2 weeks before the lineup for next year is announced. Are you excited? Is there anybody you're looking forward to or hoping is going to be there? Or got any predictions or wish lists?
I think most of us have a good idea of what the lineup's going to be. Certainly Green Day. I don't have any insider info, by the way. I don't get sent any lineups, but it's not easy. It's not hard to piece together. The general consensus seems to be Green Day, which I think would be a fantastic booking. My Green Day battery is empty at the minute. I could do without seeing them for a few years, but there's no denying stadium band, sell out stadium wherever they play, pretty much. Fantastic headliner, never done download before. Makes a lot of sense. Then there's the conversation around Korn, which for me, I couldn't believe they were spoken about in a headliner sense, but since learned they've sold 40 million records. And then, I can't be on team Biffy Clyro deserved to headline twice because they've sold out an arena tour and then be saying, what do you mean Korn when Korn are, 20 times bigger in terms of sales than Biffy Clyro? So fair enough. I do think it would be a bit of a cop-out personally, but again, it's another new download headliner in it.
Yeah.
And then there seems... Oh, sorry, go on.
Korn is a strange one because people have been saying for years they should be headliners. Maybe they've played a few too many times, so there's not as much sort of hype for them to be a headliner. But they have just been announced to headline another festival, haven't they?
They're on a few, yeah.
Yeah,
they're on a few
as headliners. So maybe for download.
I guess. I mean, I'm not plugged into the Korn machine. I don't really know what they're up to, but I might be wrong, and they might have released some of their best material in the last 5 years. They might have done, but none of that's come across my radar. So, as far as I'm aware, like the Korns and the Limp Bizkits of the world, they're just being boosted now by essentially doing nothing. Like the Woodstock '99 documentary came out a few years ago that went viral that showed like Limp Bizkit going mental, and that like lit a fire under Limp Bizkit. And good luck to them, right? And no hate, but like it just seems like these bands were always quite comfortable in these kind of sub-headline slots.
Yeah.
What is the reason for bumping them up? It looks to me, and again, there might be something I'm totally missing here, which, so take everything I say with a pinch of salt, but it just seems like a bit of a cheaper, not cost effective, but like just a lower effort kind of, just bump them up. They seem popular enough. And then the last headliner is like it seems to be a conversation between either Sleep Token or Slipknot. Slipknot are in the area, headlining similar festivals around that time, and Sleep Token are massive. I didn't realize how big they were. I would rather
so much.
I've never heard a Sleep Token song, but it's I've just missed that boat, which it's probably why I've missed the Korn boat as well. But I'm open to like getting into them. I've heard very good things about them, and I know some of their touring crew speak incredibly highly of them as a band. I would rather it be Sleep Token than Slipknot. I think if we do get a year where it's 3 brand new download headliners, that can only be a win, even if it doesn't personally appease me. But something I'm really hopeful for is Biffy Clyro in a sub-headline slot. I know they're open to doing it. I know they're open to playing non-headline slots at events they've played before. because they've said it about Reading and Leeds before. They've been like, we would have no problem returning as a sub-headliner. Like, we don't expect to be this popular forever. And I think that was in like 2016 when they said that. I think they'd be a phenomenal booking for, like, I mean, I'm biased. I just went to see him 6 times last week. I love him. but I'm really hopeful for something like that. And then I guess we'll just kind of get a splattering of the usuals, maybe with a couple of festival exclusives, the usual type stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love Biffy as a sub-headliner. I love a bit of Biffy, so I would be really down for that. I think that would be received quite well by everyone, I reckon.
Yeah, same, because when they're a headliner, it gives everyone the opportunity to just fuck off, which they all did last time. And that show was pretty shit to be at because no one was interested.
Yeah.
And, and it's a shame, and credit to the boys for putting their all into it. I think as a sub-headliner, they'd be viewed in a more positive light by the download hardcore, and maybe they would, maybe the download people would maybe discover that, do you know what, there is a couple of bangers in here that I maybe like. There are some heavy bits. There's something interesting about this band where they wouldn't have been afforded that leeway as a headliner.
It's a very good point.
That's a good point. Nobody's brought that up to us before. Have
Yeah,
they?
like that.
Fingers crossed for them, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Linkin Park people are thinking it might be Linkin Park. You saw them, didn't you?
I did. I went to their London show. Absolutely incredible. Fantastic. But I was certain it would be them. Senior download people went to their return show in America.
Yeah.
It's easy to connect these dots as someone watching on Instagram. But there are also people who don't just work for Download; they work for the company that runs Download.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Linkin Park. I think Linkin Park will probably do another lap around the UK around in the next year, but I'm less certain now that they'll be at Download. But I'm just purely guessing based on today's current rumor climate.
I'm still hoping they're gonna be at Download, but I'm getting less and less.
I mean, if they are, they could only be a headliner, couldn't they? They would only headline. So
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But, it would maybe be good to see them above. Maybe you could have a day where it's like a Sleep Token and Korn co-headline, and then a Linkin Park, and then a Green Day.
We did speak to the guys on the team about if they considered co-headline slots, and they said they have. So a co-headline slot is definitely a possibility for Download.
I think, I mean, that would sit a lot better with me. Not that matters, but Korn as the first headliner on makes a lot more sense because they've got the status then and they get the headliner bragging rights, but ultimately with a co-headliner, there's only ever one headliner, and that's who's on afterwards, and that would make more sense to me.
Unless it's structured the way Sonosphere was, where the stages they're facing each other and just have one song each. Oh, I'm not commenting. One song and then no, you have more than one song, but take it in turns. You play one song. One song.
Do you know what? It must be a production nightmare, but God, I wish I could see something like that. There used to be a thing called the Red Bull Culture Clash. I never went, but there was 4 stages, and you're in the middle of 4, and it was I don't think there's any rock music or traditional music with instruments, but it was like a grime thing, a drum and bass thing, another thing, all kind of in the kind of non-musical instrument space. But I'd love to see that with some bands.
Oh, that
would be class.
Yeah.
I'd also love to see some rap representation at Download, that kind of some rap. You think of an Eminem, he has the Download attitude, he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I think it would be class, and it'd be a great way for Download to really, I'm not saying let's get 21 Savage doing Download, but these real credible. I mean, I struggle to think of anyone outside of Eminem really, but let's entertain that conversation. Let's see where that goes.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Definitely, I think we could do with more hip. I don't understand how actual bands like Cypress Hill and other people haven't played Download because they're actual bands. They're not just.
It's a great point. Yeah, Really good point. So I saw Cypress Hill at Boomtown last year, and they killed it, and everyone was headbanging. It was great.
Yeah, well, get Cypress Hill at download. I guarantee you that's a hit straight away. You don't even need to do anything.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we've hit the time that we sort of said. Yeah, so we should probably wrap it up around here. Before we do you want to talk to us a little bit more about TPD? What you got planned for next year that people can get excited about, or something you're happy that happened this year, something achievements or anything like that?
It's been a good year for us overall. We've tried a lot of new things. Some stuff's worked, some stuff hasn't. But at the end of the year now, as we come up to the back end of the year, the numbers are looking good, and we're very happy with where they're at. Hopefully we can hit our 200,000 subscriber goal this year. I've been rambling on about that all year, and it's looking like I think we will, touch wood. I think we will, based on what's coming. We got an American festival coming up. We got a snow festival coming up. We've got, a heavy metal festival coming up. So a lot of bases covered there. Next year, going to try and do mostly new festivals, though we likely will fall into the trap of doing download again and doing Leeds again. But we're really going to try and do as few repeats as possible, and just keep the ship afloat. Really, it's gone well so far, and hopefully we can keep entertaining people next year. That's what we live to do, and very grateful to be able to do it. It's amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great to have a chat, and we could, again, like we say to a lot of people, but especially with you, because you know so much. We could talk for hours with you about download and festivals.
Well, thanks for having me. It's really nice to speak to you two gents. And thanks again. It's been great. I've had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Hopefully I haven't upset any Corn fans too much.
You're going to get so many Corn comments now.
No, I agree with you on that. I wouldn't want to headlining, to be honest.
Nonsense. It's nonsense.
Awesome. Well, everybody, that was Rob. Oh, no, there's one thing I was going to do. One more thing I was going to do. If you don't mind, you don't have to. But so our Patreons, we normally ask them to change their names to something relevant or something funny. And so we read them out, and it makes us laugh. I said to them, I'm going to ask you to read the names out. So change it to something TPD TV related or something that might make you laugh. Are you happy to read them out if I send you the list?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll send it's 2 pictures altogether, and it's just of their names, no other data or anything. So we're safe that way.
Cool.
Data protection.
No GDPR. Yeah. Love it.
Rob is going to read out the Patreon names. We're going to say a massive thank you to our Patreons. Some of them haven't changed it, so some of them might not make a lot of sense. We did like a gaming episode recently, so I think some might be left over from that. But some are related to you and TPD TV. Some I wasn't sure about, so it might be something that I'm not aware of. So thank you to our Patreons who are... I've just sent them on Instagram.
Oh, right. Sorry, I'm here looking at the chat.
I could have done it on that.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So I think maybe just scanning through, I think there's only maybe 3 here that have actually changed their names, at least as far as I'm aware. So I'll read them out. I'll read all of them out, right?
If you don't mind, yeah, if you're happy
to
do that.
Yeah, of course. So we got Mike Ferris, we got Andy T2, we got Liam. It's not very creative, Liam, is it? It's Liam. We got Tom West, and then we've got SWHBB Wales or Beers, which is obviously one that's changed for us. We got Chidsvids, we got Ethan Brown, we got another creative one here. This one, Matthew, Chris Henderson. We got Scott Shirt Stera Seegers. We got Ben Saccone. Johnny Bravo is listening. Well done, guys. You got a celeb.
So that's one I saw, and I was like, "Is that something to do with any of your videos?" I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
We got Call of Booty. We got George Butler. We've got Jenny Tullwarts. We got one that just says Yorkshire, which could be a shout out for us.
I think it is.
That's where we're from.
That's Alexander.
And then big up. And then we saved the best till last. We got somebody who's just said, "Rob, hate to tell you, your dad is dead." So thanks very much for that.
Yeah,
Someone that do you know that one's actually annoyed me a bit, not because of what it says, but because they used 5 dots after Rob, and when you use 3 dots, it formats into an ellipse. But so then there's just 2 stray dots on there. So if we could change that next time, that would be less offensive. But good work. Thanks for the shout outs
I
and the
see.
Patreon names, folks.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to change those.
Grammatical errors. I love it.
Hey,
yeah. He works in
I'll
IT
find
as well.
him.
He's
I'll find him.
that was Jacobs. He's a good friend of mine. He works in IT, so he should know better.
Come on, man. Hey, thanks for the love.
But it was funny actually. He it wasn't you he saw it. So him and his girlfriend watched you guys all the time, obsessed with you.
Oh, amazing.
And I can't remember who it was, but his girlfriend Charles saw one of you guys and was just stood there trying to take a picture, like secretly. And he was just like, right, let's just go and say hello, shall we? And so he marched her over there to say hello.
Well, a top tip is it's never as secretly as you think, because whenever it does happen, it's usually really obvious, no matter how covert you think it. Happened to me in the train station yesterday. It's like I just wanted to go over and initiate the conversation just to make it easier for him. But people they'll never gain social skills that way. If I'm doing all the heavy lifting.
Awesome.
But yeah, lots of love to those folks.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much for coming on, and thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, gents.
And that was the interview. It was awesome. We could have talked for a lot longer with him than we did. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed that one. We've done the Patreons already. You can find the link tree in the episode notes if you want to join the Patreon or find any other things there. You got email addresses, etc. And then we don't always say what our next episode is going to be anymore. Our next date of recording is the 13th of November, which is the day after the announcement for next year. But yeah, so for now, it's a goodbye from Simon and a goodbye from me. Goodbye.